When it comes to a guitar player injuring their index finger on their fretting hand, your ability to play the guitar as normal completely goes out the window. Certain chord shapes, more complex runs, especially playing at speed, you're just not going to be able to do the things you normally do. And if you have any upcoming shows, odds are you're probably going to end up canceling a few of them until you can play up to speed or hire in another guitarist to come and help fill the void. And this is exactly what happened to John Mayer, and of course with the Sphere residency still ongoing, this was a pretty huge deal. So John let everyone know in advance and posted to his Instagram on August 1st. Last Thursday, I injured my left index finger through a truck door. I assume slamming on it, which had to be incredibly painful. And the first thing that went through my mind was, I really need that finger in a week. I need all my fingers, but the left index is the team captain of my fretting hand. It will heal just fine, but will be out of commission for a while. In the meantime, I've spent every day practicing guitar using the other 3 fingers, and I think I have it sounding pretty good. I've always felt like every part of me belongs to these shows, and it's my responsibility to return to the stage each night without screwing up the equipment, and I'm sorry for the misadventure here. The power of the music and love for these shows will prevail. See you tonight. Now, that was huge. When I first saw that post, I thought John was going to end up being like, I can't perform, I'm going to sing, and maybe we'll bring in another guitarist to help kind of cover for at least one weekend even of the residency, maybe a couple of guests coming in and out. It's Vegas, close proximity to Los Angeles. I'm sure you could find someone to come in and help kind of fill at least part of, the space that John does on stage. But instead, John goes and practices with using only 3 fingers for his fretting hand, and he goes, I think I have it sounding pretty good. And as we're going to listen to some clips here, John sounds absolutely incredible. Now, at this point in John's career, his mastery of the fretboard and just playing guitar in general really has to mean that playing for him it's got to be pretty effortless at this point. Not a lot of thought goes into the actual technical aspect of what he is doing. However, when you injure that index finger, the team captain, as he mentioned, you really got to rewire your whole way of thinking, the way you tackle playing the guitar, because now all of a sudden your middle finger, that is what is actually home. That's the second string quarterback coming now onto the field after, Aaron Rodgers gets injured within the first 2 minutes of the opening season. You don't expect it to happen. Now you're kind of like, all right, not even plan B at this point. This is a worst kind of case scenario. If you had injured any other finger, it wouldn't be anywhere near as bad, but that index finger, that is the worst one to injure on both hands, I would say, easily. But luckily for John, he does have one advantage that not a lot of us do have, besides obviously his just pure mastery of the guitar. And it's the fact that he does have pretty massive hands, and he's even said it himself, I have massive hands. If you've ever seen him play Neon, you get kind of an indication of how that is such an advantage for some of the things he can do on the guitar. So the fact that he has these massive hands really means that he can kind of rely on his middle and his third finger to kind of take over what normal guitar players would use their first and third finger for. You can see him in the playing. He makes these big stretches between his middle and his third finger to kind of cover that ground, and his pinky, I'm sure too, has a lot more strength than a lot of ours do, but he still doesn't have to rely on it too much for the more basic stretches when it comes to his playing. Now, the other thing that's really interesting as a result of John's injury is that he's brought with him 2 new guitars for the performances at the Sphere, assuming at least until his injury either heals or for the remainder of the run. We have to wait and see. But it definitely has to be some sort of comfortability thing, because now you're down your team captain on your fretting hand. You need kind of the guitars that you're the most comfortable with, or maybe just with necks that are a little bit easier to play on and not as thick, in order to kind of just help you out a little bit more, because John's obviously physically not at his best. Now, the very first guitar is the faded black tea satin prototype Silver Sky, which we've seen John using during his own solo career quite a lot. And even though you have the dead spec Silver Sky and then the faded black tea satin, 2 Silver Skies, you just know when the one guitar feels right in your hands and you just have that comfortability with it. I assume that's the guitar he's practicing with at home. He's played it a lot more than the dead spec Silver Sky. So that for him is probably just a guitar that he's a lot more comfortable on, and just decided, I'm going to play this one instead of the dead spec for kind of my single coil sound. But what was really cool is instead of bringing out, the 594, for example, John brought out the Fender Custom Shop Limited Edition Brett Mason Telecaster, which is huge. We know John has used this guitar in the studio before for Sob Rock, but the fact that we're seeing him use it on stage with Dead and Company, that is a very cool thing to see. And not only do I think the guitar just makes a lot of sense in this context, but the fact that it has a B-bender on the back of the neck plate just means that John has a little bit more options to help him out. I think it was a very clever and very smart move to actually include this guitar into his arsenal, at least for the remainder of his injury. Now, as you guys have heard and seen in the clips I've highlighted in this video, and there are sure to be more with the upcoming weekend's performance as well, John does sound absolutely incredible, and it's pretty hard to even tell just by listening to him play that he's down his index finger, and the fact that he's kind of turned this whole thing around within a week. This is one of those moments I think we're going to remember for a very long time in John's career, because he's done this so well. The fact that he persevered and practiced obviously a ton in the only week's time that he had to kind of, again, rewire his brain and retackle these Dead and Company songs, these Grateful Dead songs, because they're also not basic songs. They're rather complicated, very long, some of them, and the fact that he's, gone out, brought out some new guitars with them, and taken this kind of, injury head on and made such a good, just made the best of the situation, I think is one of the many reasons why we're all John Mayer fans, where a lot of other guitarists too, I just genuinely think would just bow out and be like, hey guys, this isn't happening. We gotta either cancel the weekend or figure something else out. I can't play. And that would just be the end of it. And they wouldn't even try to, take the stage and play and give everyone a show. And John's done a brilliant job, and I think he deserves all the kudos in the world for just how great he sounds still, even with this injury. John doing this, it's kind of like a video game side quest, although he's injured and just forced to do it. It's like, play a gig without using your fretting hand index finger. Achievement unlocked for John here. I just thought this was really cool and obviously had to cover it on the channel as well. Worth noting too, John did bring out the Jeff Beck Stratocaster as well that we've seen him playing kind of in the earlier portion of the Dead and Companies Residency. That guitar has come out again, but it's nothing new, so I didn't really want to highlight it too much. Obviously, the Faded Black Tea Satin, Silver Sky, the prototype version, and then the Brent Mason limited edition custom shop Telecaster. These are kind of the two really cool things that we're seeing, and I just wonder for the upcoming weekend if we're going to see any new guitars come out, or if these two guitars will kind of remain John's go-tos now with his injury as kind of just helping him out a little bit more. So there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and some of the clips I've highlighted in terms of, John's injury and how he still sounds absolutely brilliant. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.